If someone is in a position where they have the tendency to feel bad about themselves, their life is unlikely to be very pleasant. It is then going to be normal for them to be in a very low place, and their life is unlikely to be very fulfilling. And as they rarely feel good about themselves, it could mean that there are a number of people in their life who are not very kind. But even if this is the case, how they are treated by these people might not always stand out. If they are treated well and like someone who has value, they can end up feeling uncomfortable. Or to be more accurate, part of them can feel comfortable being treated in this way, but a bigger, stronger part of them might not. Due to this, these experiences are unlikely to last for very long, or be something that occurs very often. After an interaction like this has come to an end, though, they could hope to soon have another experience that is like it. Based on how they feel about themselves, it can be as if they have done something that is very bad. However, although this is what it will be like, it doesn't mean that they have actually done anything bad. If they were to reflect on their life then and think about how they typically behave, they could struggle to think about something that they have done that is extremely bad. This is not to say that they will be perfect, but making mistakes and perhaps not always treating others well is not something that should lead to eternal self-punishment. Now, if this is how they have experienced life for as long as they can remember, and they simply can't accept that they don't deserve to experience life in this way, there is a strong chance that it is the result of what took place during their early years. This may have been a time when they were brought up by at least one parent who was anything but loving. Throughout this stage of their life, this parent and perhaps another may have often physically harmed them, verbally put them down, and rejected and abandoned them. Ultimately, they would have told them, both directly and indirectly, that they didn't deserve to exist and were worthless and unlovable. The trouble is that as they were egocentric at this stage of their life, they would have personalized what took place. It then didn't matter that how they were treated was not a reflection of them, as it would have been accepted as the truth. What was going on externally was then internalized, becoming a core part of how they would feel and see themselves. Still, although this parent and perhaps another wouldn't have been able to love them, it would have been too painful for them to accept this. Thanks to this, they would have had to lose touch with reality and hope that their life would change. Most likely, they would have tried to change what was going on by engaging in a struggle for love. If they had accepted the reality of the situation, it might have been so overwhelming that their life would have come to an end. Quite simply, they desperately needed to be loved in order to grow and develop in the right way, so they had to deny reality and engage in a futile struggle for what wasn't on offer. As for the parent who treated them in this way, assuming that it was only one, this may have been someone who was totally estranged from themselves. But as they were not strongly connected to what was taking place inside them, it would have meant that their dark side ended up being projected into their child. In other words, the disowned parts of their being would have ended up being seen as belonging to someone else. Consequently, their child, someone who deserved to exist, was valuable and lovable, ended up being seen as the opposite and someone who deserved to be mistreated. With this in mind, it is clear that this parent was not in a good way. If they were, they wouldn't have been in such a fragmented state and mistreated their own child. If one was able to accept this during their early years, their life would probably be different now. Yet, as they were not developed enough to understand this, they would have been deeply wounded, and how they were treated would have been seen as a reflection of who they were. What took place will be over, but they are going to carry a lot of pain and unmet developmental needs. So with that in mind, if you have carried for as long as you can remember this sense of badness and have struggled to feel good about yourself, often feeling perhaps guilty and ashamed and worthless and unlovable, then this might be due to what took place during your formative years, with this being a time when one or both of your parents and or perhaps others projected their darkness into you and saw the parts of themselves that they had lost touch with. And so on one level, they might not have even felt ashamed or guilty because they had completely lost touch with a big part of themselves, and this may have meant that they were shameless. And so you would then have been seen as a problem, as the one who had no value, who was unlovable, when in reality this was just a reflection of them. But of course, for you to realize this at the core of your being, you will most likely have a lot of pain to work through and unmet developmental needs to experience. But the truth is that you are not worthless, you are not inherently bad or inherently unlovable. The truth is that you are lovable, you have value, and you deserve to live a fulfilling life. You deserve to feel good about yourself. So if you can relate to this, please reach out for the assistance that you need to gradually change your life. If you would like to find out more about the services that I offer, please go to www.oliverjrcooper.co.uk or email me at info@oliverjrcooper.co.uk, and I'm looking forward to assisting you on your journey.